Hello and welcome back to the Busby Way Podcast. In the dark today, actually, my ring light's just gone off as we've been doing that intro. So this first question will be brought to you in the dark, and hopefully we'll have some light after that. I'm joined by Chris, as per usual. Chris, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Yourself?
Yes, I'm all right, Tal. I'm not bad. This is more of a transfer window edition, a review, so to speak, a transfer edition review on Manchester United's window in January. In terms of the ingoing, it was very quiet. I mean, they didn't sign anyone, not even on loan, which I am very surprised about given the current state of Man United. But they also got rid of a lot, not permanently, but on loan. We'll go through each one, the main ones really, and then we'll just speak briefly on the people who potentially didn't go and maybe should have gone, because there was talks about a couple of players on deadline day potentially securing a move that didn't. So we'll talk about that. First of all, we'll start with Donny van de Beek because he's a man that we've spoken about countless times on this podcast. Should he get game time? Does he not deserve game time? Should he be playing? And I know Solskjaer was criticised a lot for him not playing, him. And then Rangnick's come in and also not played him, which says more maybe that perhaps it's about the player rather than the manager's preferences. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's probably, we've not seen it before where two managers haven't preferred a player, but you never know, Do you think him moving to Everton on loan was a good move for him?
Yeah, I think obviously he's going to a club where ultimately he's going to be playing under a man who's played the same position as him for a long time and did it rather well in Frank Lampard. So I'll be interested to see sort of how that dynamic works. I thought it was a bit strange how they went and then signed Dele Alli, who basically plays the same. He's just an English Van der Beek, really. You don't know if he's a cam, a centre mid or what, really. So yeah, that's a bit of a strange one, but I hope he does well. He needs games. He needs an opportunity to bet into the Premier League. I think it's one of those where be interesting to see what happens at the end of his loan, but depending on how well he does. I think if he has a really good spell now, was a great end to the season, will United be like, okay, great, now come do it for us? Or will Everton be like, he's done all this for us, we want to keep him? So it's an interesting dynamic because obviously we saw it with Lingard, didn't we? Where West Ham wanted him after he had such a successful loan spell, and then we didn't let him go, and we still not let him go, as we'll come on to. But I think for Donny, it's a good move. I think that club suits him. Obviously, they're in a very difficult situation near the bottom of the league. For me, they are in a relegation fight, even with Frank Lampard coming in. So, yeah, be interested to see how he goes. I hope he starts games and performs because he deserves a shot in the Premier League, and he seemed happy in his interviews to actually, firstly be doing an interview, and secondly to get the feeling he might actually play some football.
We have light back. We've got light. I've actually my ring light looks like it's died. It won't turn on. I don't know if it's the plug that I'm using or what it is, but I've got my lamp on, so we've now got light for now, so the camera can now stay on both of us. Like you mentioned there with Donny van de Beek, it probably would be a good move for him. I mean, it's a shame that they brought in Dele Alli as well, because I feel like them two and Allen in a system for Everton. Obviously, this isn't the Everton podcast. They could discuss that. I mean, they're more willing to discuss what that type of midfield is, but that's a very slow midfield. You'd imagine that them three will not play together every single week because they need some dynamics, different dynamics in there, and they're very similar type of players. So we'll see if Van der Beek gets a game. Let's hope he just gets a bit of a run of form because, it's not that I don't want him to do well. I like the bloke. I'm sure he's a lovely fella. But, I mean, in terms of when he's played for United, he just hasn't been great. So, yeah, let's hope that run of games for Everton can some game time United if we get Ten Hag in the summer or get Pochettino in the summer. That's another debate that we'll have on a future podcast probably. In terms of another outgoing then, on loan as well, pretty much all of Man United's outgoings are on loan this transfer, but I don't think they actually sold anyone. They're all loan deals. We'll quickly touch upon that actually, but while that's fresh. In terms of the fact that they didn't sell anyone, they've only loaned players. Does that suggest to you that perhaps Rangnick isn't staying in the summer, Chris?
Yeah, I think it's a case of he doesn't want them right now, but somebody might want him in the future. So yeah, I think it's sort of very much a short-term plan, isn't it? To get them game time, see what they're like when they come back. I mean, a couple of them make more sense than others. For example, like Diallo going to Rangers, youngster getting game time. That's that's a good thing. And ultimately, he's playing in a team that's competing for a title, which is good experience because yes, it's in Scotland, but he played in an Old Firm derby. Yeah, I know he didn't have a great game by all accounts in the Glasgow derby, but it's a good atmosphere for him to play in because there's pressure on Rangers. So for him, that's going to be beneficial.
Well, they're winners, aren't they? That's essentially what that league is. If you go to Celtic or Rangers, you're in with a team of winners, and I think being surrounded by that mentality only breeds that mentality. And having Diallo go into that team, hopefully, will have that positive impact of him as a young child, like a young kid, in terms of like breeding that mentality when he gets older and when he comes back to Man United. So yeah, hopefully, he was one that I was going to talk about now, and we will quickly touch upon him. He scored his debut 4 minutes in. Although it was a tap-in, he had to be in the right place at the right time. His positioning was good. Do you think that move for him, if he gets game time, maybe we might see a change in the way he plays? Or because obviously that Scottish League's a lot slower, and I imagine it's not as physical as the Premier League. Although, I don't know, it might be in that Old Firm, it'll probably be a bit physical like the Premier League. In terms of everything else, I doubt it. Do you think he might adapt slightly as a player because he's in a bit more of a relaxed league slightly?
I think it will give him confidence as much as anything. And his game time. Ultimately, he's played a lot in like the under-23s reserves, hasn't he? So this is men's football. I think it's probably a bit more physical than it is technical up in Scotland. But obviously, he's going to play in Europe as well. In the coming months, because they got through. I can't remember if they're in Europa or Conference League, but it's still a decent level for him to be playing at. Like I said as well, because he's going to a Rangers, he's going to a big club. There's a big club mentality, and there is going to be those big games to play in. You know, all things being equal, Rangers are probably going to end up in at least a title race or a cup final, and that can only be a good thing for a young player to have a taste of that, because they want to do it more and want to do it at a even higher level as well. And yeah, like I say, he didn't have a great game in the Old Firm the other night. But I think that's probably, it would have been a bit of a culture shock, because that, I'd imagine, away from home as a Rangers player in that one, that is not a game for the faint-hearted. So he will learn a lot about himself and how he needs to toughen up, because it is very much sort of the type of game you compare to like a Manchester derby, United Liverpool game, where a lot of
up on that level, and it's in the big name derbies.
Yeah, where sometimes the quality goes out the window because they're like kicking each other. Even now, you know, you do get those challenges. So it'll toughen him up for sure. Yeah. I think it's probably one of the better loans that we've done because of the fact he's definitely going to learn something, and I think he will come back a better player, having experienced a good level at, like say, a big club with big expectations on the team as a whole, but on the individual to perform week in, week out.
Yeah, well, he's gone to Rangers. You mentioned there they are still in the Europa League. They've drawn Dortmund in the next round, so they played Dortmund in the next round.
Good
so
test.
It's a big game, isn't it? It's that big game mentality that you want to be breeding within a young player like that. I think that's an ideal move for him, really. I mean, all right, maybe gone to a lower league, Premier League or a Championship club, but I think you're guaranteed to be competing in that Rangers team, like you say, and that's probably what Man United have thought looking at it over a Championship club. And I mean, kudos to him. To be fair, they found a good move for him. Another good move, I think personally, it's a good move. I'm not sure what your opinions on it are, but Martial to Sevilla on loan. Now, there was rumours that Martial didn't want to be there. He was causing unrest in the squad. Now, if a player doesn't want to be there and they're causing unrest, for me, you get rid. I don't get how good they are. They are not bigger than the club. You get rid and you try, even if it's on loan, because to be honest with you, I doubt Martial's going to play for us again. You know, even if there isn't an option to buy in the summer, I doubt this new manager is going to come in and want him. Although there were rumours that Pochettino did like him when he was at Spurs. There was always rumours of Spurs, wasn't he? So you never know. But do you think that's a good move for him to Seville? Do you think he'll get a lot of game time over there?
It's a slower league, isn't it? Especially other than your top two, top three. It is a slower tempo, which will suit Martial. Because he wasn't exactly electrifying in his movements. So yeah, I think that's a good move for him. I think he'll stay in Spain. I don't see him coming back. I won't really be bothered if he didn't, if I'm honest. So yeah, I think if Sevilla would have made a cash offer for a permanent transfer that was about right, I think United would have taken it. But I think Sevilla have probably been smart themselves in going, let's just get him in, see how he goes, and then probably go for him. And he would probably get him cheaper because obviously it'll be deeper into his contract as well. So I think that's a good move for all involved, actually.
Yeah, well, you mentioned there as well about Rangers going for a title. Sevilla are actually going for a title this year. They're currently second in La Liga. Only 4 points behind Real Madrid, who are top of the league on the same amount of games played, and they are 6 points clear of third place. So, a move for Sevilla, that's a very positive deal, really, when you can get a striker of Martial's experience. And like you say, he is quick. Like he's not slow, and he's very technical. And in a league like that, he probably will flourish because we've seen it so many times before of a player of that caliber going over there and doing well. But then we've also seen them fail in Eden Hazard. So, you never know what's going to happen in a move like that, especially to a club like Seville, who really aren't known for their big name players. So it'll be interesting to see how an ego like that, develops at Seville. Do you think there's any chance we'll see him in a United shirt again, Chris?
No, I really don't. I think you can cash in and get better. For me, obviously there's a player there, but and when he first came in, I think we all thought, I hope we got a good one. I remember obviously scoring on debut against Liverpool, such a great goal, but he's just not really materialised into what it should have been for him. And I think both parties would be happy if they can get the right price. Obviously, I'm not saying selling for £5 million. I'm talking you should get 30, 40, 50.
Yeah.
Really, realistically, he's in today's market, and for somebody who does have undoubted quality, I could see him going for that, and would not surprise me if he's not in Spain, back in France, one of the two, I think.
Yeah. These a lot of talk of the new managers coming in, and that's maybe why they've loaned a lot of players out. There's also a lot of players going to be probably leaving in the summer if that's the case, because it's looking like we're going to lose Pogba because Pogba hasn't signed a new deal yet. And I mean, we've said what we want to say about Pogba on this podcast and his attitude and his agent, the circus that he brings with him. So he's set to be going. There'll be Martial could be going. Diallo could go out on loan again. They're falling short in terms of that attacking area. Lingard probably will go on a free as well. That position now is almost becoming weaker. Cavani could go on at the end of his contract because he's rumoured to go to Barcelona. If we don't get Champions League, Ronaldo could leave as well. There's a lot of players that could leave in the summer in and around that position. Do you think maybe, Chris, absolute on the speculation dreamboat here, but they're maybe plotting a move for a big name in that front line position? Because again, there's a lot of people going for free in the summer. Out of contract. I know Kylian Mbappe is one where he'll sign a new deal with PSG or go to Real Madrid. That's up in the air. I know Haaland's got his buyout clause of 60 million. You've got people like Paulo Dybala going on a free in the summer. Do you think maybe they're making way for a big name like that to come in that position?
I'd like to think so. Obviously, like you say, that area, based on sort of the dealings we've had over the last month, suggests that there are going to be improvements in that area, new faces. But also, there's players who are coming through. Like Alanga are starting to make a claim for that. Obviously, there's players at the club as well who
talks about Hannibal, isn't there? Coming
in. And even you've still got Sancho, who we've not seen the best from. Maybe we'll see more of him in the second season. But yeah, I think it is shaping up that there's going to be a big name. I would love Haaland. I think he would be the one for me that
The
I
only
would
thing
go
is with
for.
Haaland for me is he brings that circus with like
Yeah.
Pogba does with Raiola. That's the only thing.
Yeah, I think to be honest, I don't think there's many top players that don't bring baggage these days. Is there?
True.
Maybe other than Mbappe, but I think Mbappe's off to Real Madrid. I think that's pretty much signed, sealed, delivered. Realistically, yeah, and then you're looking at maybe one of the more up and coming players, or yeah, I think, but I still think there's enough players that we know are going to be around next season to fill those areas and not lose too much. It's maybe that one behind with the centre mids. I'd rather spend 150 million on getting two top centre mids, and sort of play a three with McTominay.
Yeah,
I think that's what I would like to see.
It's the position we need most,
see.
I think. It's the position we need most, I think, is that centre mid. And we've said it for years, I even remember when Fergie was there, they said they were crying out for that central midfielder. I feel like they need someone in that defensive role, like a Declan Rice or a Jude Bellingham. Or Jude Bellingham a bit more of a risk, and you probably pay more money for him, believe it or not, because of his age and his potential. But they need someone in that midfield who can do Fred and McTominay's job at the same time. That's what we need, essentially. And looking like it's going to be a big window, really, because the talks, if all them attacking players leave, they'll have to bring in an attacker. They need them defensive midfielders. They need fullbacks. They need a centre-back. It's going to be... Yeah, I'm going to say it's going to have to be a big window. And I mean, this isn't FIFA. You can't just sell your whole team and buy new players in. You've got to do it gradually, which is why I actually think they might keep Martial again for another year, depending on who comes in, and then sell him because he's probably got more on his contract than the rest of them. Pogba's definitely gone, I think. I don't think he's going to stay. Lingard as well will go. We'll talk about him now. Do you think he maybe should have gone on loan in this window? Do you think maybe that was probably the right move? Or do you reckon maybe, Rangnick was right to keep him around, especially given if United get an injury in that position, they might struggle for depth there.
Yeah, I think obviously, let's just broadly say it, the circumstances at the club now with non-football and things have dictated that we've had to keep Lingard ultimately. And like with Van der Beek getting his move and then Martial getting his move, it's then meant that ultimately I think those ones have happened before the Lingard one has sort of got traction. Ultimately, I think that's why Lingard has stayed. Otherwise, I think they'd have probably kept Van der Beek because he can play more roles. Weirdly enough, so I think Lingard was unlucky in the fact that he's just the circumstances have meant we've had to keep somebody in the same. But at the same time, I feel for him because I really do think that he should have been allowed to leave. Probably permanently as well. And there's clubs that clearly wanted him, West Ham, Newcastle. I'm surprised Newcastle didn't just pay the 10 million quid loan fee, to be honest. I think for that 10 million quid, and he's probably going to get you five or six goals between now and the end of the season. Same again, and says could keep you up, really. And I think if Newcastle would have signed him, I thought I'd have probably actually gone, you know what, I think they'll stay up. But it's a tough one for Jesse. Obviously, I know he's said he wants a couple of days off, so he's not going to be involved for the FA Cup tie against Borough, which I think is fair enough. He clearly thought he should have got his move that he's been wanting. It's a tough situation considering he's been a good servant to the club in terms of he had really good few years. He's scored some crucial goals. Product of the youth academy as well, obviously. So, it's got a bit sticky, a bit messy. Hopefully, it won't damage him too much. Hopefully, we'll actually play some games for us between now and the end of the season. I think even just basic rotation, he's higher up the pecking order now, so he should get a run out at least every now and again. So we'll see. I just hope he gets some game time and can do the business as well for us, because he might need to as well, because like you said, when we're not looking the healthiest in those areas anymore.
Well, Jesse missed out on his move away, and I missed out on a few incoming into this January window. They missed out on a few players coming in. Zakaria being one of them. He unfortunately signed for Juventus at a small fee, which we mentioned earlier on a few weeks back. How are you as disappointed about that as I am? Because I think for me, regardless if you've got a new manager coming in the summer, he is an ideal player in an ideal position that United need. And if you can pick him up for 6-7 million, why aren't you? You know, it seems silly that you'd wait to try and get him free just to see if the new manager approves it, because 6-7 million is nothing. You're probably getting that in loan fees and wage savings over what you've sold out this window. Do you think that potentially that could become costly to United, missing out on a player like Zakaria?
Yeah, I think in general, I think considering the number of outgoings, it was strange that nobody came in. And yeah, like I say, a player like Zakaria would have added depth to an area where we need depth, not just this season, but going forwards. And like I just mentioned with Lingard, that 10 million fee that was said to Newcastle, if we'd have got that over the line, we'd have still actually made £3 million in that deal, essentially. So it begs the question why it wasn't done. Maybe it was something they looked at and he didn't want to come, or whether they've not looked at it at all, and it's just been the usual gossip. I don't know, but yeah, I think he'd have been a good acquisition at this time of the season. Yeah, all in all, I think pretty much everybody's made a move. Even City have signed a player for next season. We've not even done that, so that's been disappointing, especially when you see Liverpool have gone and bought a very highly rated forwards, which they didn't really need. Let's be honest, they signed somebody they didn't need, because that front, he don't even get in their starting 11. No. And he's still a top player. So
does that say to you, Chris, that maybe someone's going in the summer for Liverpool, like a Salah or?
I think Firmino's on his way, so that takes him down to 4, and I think they go with 4. I think if you play front 3, you need 4 top players. It's a bit like when we had that spell between mid-90s and
back in the day
to 10s, where we had 4 strikers and played a 4-4-2. When you have York and Cole up top and Sheringham and Solskjaer coming off the bench, it's like those are the dream scenarios. Whereas now it's a case of you've got 2 30-somethings and then it's genuinely a kid to play centre forward. So we are a bit. It's a bit of disparity between us then and us now, and us compared with your Liverpools and your Manchester Cities, where they've got so much strength and depth. And even it's frustrating as well, even when you look at say like Aston Villa going to sign Coutinho. Yeah, he's on loan, but they've done some really good business. Newcastle obviously have got the money. They've done some really good business. I'd have taken Guimarães. His stats speak for himself.
Yeah.
If he has a good season, keeps him up, and if he can replicate that form, it looks still at 30-40 mil. So there's been some good moves by a lot of clubs that you didn't expect to make good moves. While we've been one of the ones that have stood still, which disappointing, but I think it just shows that we are very much in a season where we are just happy to see what we get. Transition out of this, get into new season, and then that's where we actually start something. I think it just looks like we're quite happy taking over really now. So we'll just see if that's going to actually leave us further behind or not.
Well, they seem to have written the season off, don't they? That's what they seem to have done, and just drawn a line under it already, which, I mean, when you've got a cup game and you're still in the FA Cup this weekend. Nice little segue there.
Okay. Well done.
We've got the Cup, FA Cup, and there's still the Champions League and still the Premier League. Well, we're still in the Premier League. We're going to still be in it, but no chance of winning it. Like with City running away with it. But we'll talk about the FA Cup game because we knocked out Aston Villa in the last round, and we have now got Middlesbrough in the next round. Now, I've heard you're an expert on Middlesbrough, Chris. We heard you've been talking up your big game in the chat, saying how you know your Middlesbrough stuff. So go on, fire away. What should we be worried about at the weekend?
Well, it's the fact that it's Chris Wilder. They play very similar to how Sheffield United did in that first season with the overlapping centre halves, which I think is just genius myself. If very top teams played that, Chris Wilder would be, the Don. But yeah, they're going really well in the Championship. Only a couple, I think they might just snuck into the playoffs at the weekend. But they started off pretty slow under Neil Warnock, kind of picked up really well under Wilder. Played some decent football, got some good players. Brought in a couple of young Premier League loanees in Balogun and Connolly from Arsenal and Brighton. Got Marcus Tavernier, who's a good player. Plays central midfield. Can drive with the ball. They're good football inside. Good defensively. They got a couple of ex-United players. Paddy McNair and to be honest, every time I've seen him play, he's looked an absolute baller. Plays can either play obviously left centre half or in midfield. He's just really comfortable on the ball, can pick a pass.
Him and Tyler Blackett back at United. Tyler Blackett, Borthwick Jackson, bring them all back.
Those for the days, eh? Crikey. Yeah. They play with wing backs as well. So they get the ball in the box. I think they're a decent size. Good going forward, and have been pretty good defensively the last few weeks as well. Been on a really good run. They'll cause United problems. They'll fancy it. They beat Bournemouth last time I watched them, 1-0, and yeah, they controlled the game. Could have won by a couple more, if truth be told. Yeah, I like the look of them. I think they're in with a really good chance of going up this year. I'd say they're a dark horse to get promoted. So yeah, they're a good side. They're going to come to United with absolutely nothing to lose. All the pressure's on us. And Chris Wilder obviously has a decent record because obviously they beat us that season. They went down 2-1, wasn't it? So when
first
it was at Sheffield United,
we were the first team to lose in the season. Weren't we?
Yeah, something stupid like that, wasn't it? So yeah, it's obviously the old cliche is anything can happen in the FA Cup, magic of the FA Cup, all that malarkey. But it's a banana skin, this one, because I remember obviously completely different Middlesbrough side now, but they knocked Man City out of the FA Cup. I think it was the fourth round a few years back at the Etihad. So the club has history. It's one of those that we've got to turn up. If we're not on it, they've got quality players who can hurt us, and if they score the first goal, they're tough to break down. So it's important that we get that opening goal, control it. If we're as open as we were against Villa in the third rounds, we're going to cause ourselves problems. We've got to be clinical with our chances as well. It's all about mentality, these types of games. If you're on it and you do the little things right and execute your moments, then you'll win the game. If the attitude's right, you'll win the game. But if you're off, Middlesbrough can cause an upset. So we should win. But I don't think it's going to be like 3-4, 5-0. I really don't. I think sort of 1 or 2-0 is what I would say as a potential scoreline.
Well, you say that they're currently sat 7th in the Championship, and if they win the games in hand, they will go into the playoff positions. they've conceded the second joint least goals in the Championship. So yeah, that would probably back up your statement that we probably aren't going to thrash these out of the weekend, given our current form.
And thing is as well, a lot of those goals were conceded early in the season.
Yeah,
since Chris Wilder's come in, they've barely conceded under Wilder, so they are really well drilled. They got quick centre halves as well, which I like in Fry, Dijksteel, and McNair. Knowledge there, they cover the ground really well, which obviously there's that stereotypical non-Premier League centre half is a bit slow, doesn't turn really well. These three don't, and they're young as well, especially like Del Fry. It's got to come up with different solutions when you're playing a team like that who can, defend well and not like completely deep because they've got the pace to retreat. So we'll have to. Certainly don't want to be seeing what we saw in the last round where there was no movement from Rashford or whatever. We've got to have movement against this type of team. Yeah,
definitely. And hopefully he doesn't go too weak like we have seen United do in previous years in a cup tie that we probably should win. But yeah, we'll see. We play Middlesbrough. Is it on Saturday? Yeah, it's tomorrow. Yeah, Saturday, isn't it? Friday.
Friday night. Yeah, Friday
night. So we play Middlesbrough on Friday night. So who knows? We'll see. It'll probably be tonight when you're watching this. So I mean, by the time this goes on TV, it'll be tonight. But yeah, thank you for joining me, Chris, as per usual. We'll wrap it up there because I think we've probably discussed everything there is to discuss. We don't play again until next weekend. Am I right in saying so?
Burnley on Tuesday. Actually.
Oh, do we? Should we cover that quickly?
Yeah, go on. Let's touch on
that while we're here. Why not?
Yeah.
But yeah, Burnley, we've got them on the Tuesday, as I've just discussed, and my great research coming out of this podcast. I honestly, I thought we didn't play until next weekend. I must have missed that one. It's Southampton the weekend after, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't know we had a midweek game. So, Burnley, it'll be at Burnley, won't it?
I've got tickets for it, actually. So,
have you? That'd be good.
I'm looking forward to the 6'6" striker Weghorst causing absolute chaos.
I'm gonna say, they'll be pumping balls up to him.
I'm not looking forward to that.
Nah.
At all. We lose that game. I'll just put that there now. We 100% lose that game.
He's
scoring.
Get the doomsday statement out there already.
Honestly, I put Weghorst into my fantasy team because he's bagging. And honestly, signing him could be an absolute game changer. Jokes aside, he's going to be a handful because he's technically decent as well. He's not just a big lad.
Not like Andy Carroll. He's actually a technically decent footballer.
Yeah. And I think when they've got, obviously, Cornet's a good player. So, and obviously he's back from the Africa Cup of Nations. And he's been back a couple of weeks now as well, actually. So he'll be fit and ready to go. They've obviously not had a great season by any stretch of the imagination. I think the majority of their team is top level Championship now. Because it's the same squad they've had for 3-4 seasons. And they've just not really updated it until now. They've got Cornet from the start of the season, and now they've got Weghorst. They've now got two players who you go, they can really hurt you. So tough game. And I think that it's one we could quite easily lose. I would not be surprised at all, because they're going to be horrible to play against. 6'6" striker. They're horrible to play against.
Especially Lindelof in the air. Lindelof in the air is absolutely it's a nightmare. It's a disaster waiting to happen, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, I think it. Like I say, you'll be scared to give a free kick away, scared to give a throw in away because the thing is, he doesn't even need to win the headers because he'll cause the chaos by just being there, and our defensive times is chaotic at best anyway. So. It's going to be interesting to see how we deal with him because we're going to be the first team to come up against him. And there's going to be a lot of anticipation and excitement there about him being there. So purely because of the brilliant announcement video they did. Did you see that? Jurassic Park one?
Yeah, Jurassic Park one. It was really good. That, wasn't it?
I mean, just for that alone, I'd let him score.
I don't know about that.
We'll score for 3 or 4. I mean, to be fair, they really can't defend this season, so we'll get chances.
Which is unlike the Burnley side, because Burnley sides are normally quite rigid and quite hard to break down.
I think that's ultimately why they've struggled, because we know they were never going to be one of the top goal scorers in the league. If somebody got into double digits, they had a great season. So it was all about how they could defend, and that hasn't quite been their usual standard. So they'll give us chances. But yeah, we just got to be careful. Really, we can't let them play to their strength, which is going to be get the ball up to the big fella, let him wreak havoc, and get Cornet playing in and around him and picking up the scraps, and that could work wonders for them. So yeah, but we'll have to see how that works. But I suppose Ralph will know a lot about him, coming from the Bundesliga. So it's not like he's going to be a completely alien prospect. So we'll see how that one goes. But yeah, I think on paper it's 2 wins when you look at it like that. But in reality, it's 2 tough games for different reasons in the next week.
I've just realised why I didn't do my research. I'm covering my own back here. It's because we've got another one of these on Sunday, which is why I was the Burnley preview, because I knew we were doing it on Sunday. That's why I caught off guard. So,
by then, let's face it, I've said all that about Weghorst. He's pull his hamstring and not play. Yeah. So by then we'll know.
So by then, we'll wrap it up and we'll talk about that again on Sunday, because we'll have to redo that all just to talk about Burnley and Burnley probably turning us over, which is going to be great fun. But thank you for joining us, Chris. It's been a pleasure as always. It's a slightly longer one, actually. We came into this thinking it was going to be a shorter one, but it's actually turned out to be a double as length.
It's my Middlesbrough knowledge that's tipped us over the
edge. It's fleshed out the podcast slightly, hasn't it? That's what it is. No, thank you for joining me, Chris. It's been a pleasure. If you haven't already, make sure you check out all the content on the local TV channels, not just the Manchester TV one. There's probably one for your area. There's Leeds, Birmingham, there's the various other channels that you can check out. And they don't just post football and sport content, they post regular content as well. So make sure you go check out those on the Facebook pages and the Twitter pages. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you on Sunday at 7 p.m, I think it is. Goodbye.